to Engage Virtual Range. I'm Cal Davis with my business partner Chad Wilson. We're going to go over a little bit of the history of how Engage Virtual Range came to be.
A lot of people ask us, why'd you guys get into this business? What got you here? It's an easy question. We, several years back, took our wives to a live fire range, and the effort or the attempt to introduce them to firearms and improve their comfort level with the guns that we had in our homes. Unfortunately, that experience wasn't what we had hoped for. It was very intimidating, and others in the range made it an atmosphere that really wasn't conducive for them getting the proper training that they were looking for. And so we left kind of disheartened and felt like that experiment was a little bit of a failure, and started to research alternative training methods to get those without any sort of experience or exposure to firearms, to get them training that was less intimidating and more inviting. And we stumbled upon some technology, virtual range technology to be specific, that really piqued our interest. This technology has really comes from the military market and has a background with large law enforcement departments. And we started to look at it, and we visited a couple virtual ranges that are out there, and lo and behold, we were scratching our heads and found that we really thought there was a commercial application for what was available to military and law enforcement. After a lot of back and forth business planning and a lot of consideration of financials and revenue projections and all that fun stuff, we decided to sign a lease in our facility here in Medina and get the ball rolling. So it took us a couple months to do a build out. We had a lot of help on that, and a lot of new technology development, which Cal's going to talk about in a little bit here. But that's kind of how we got to be where we are today. We opened in August of 2019, so we're about 8 months into our business, and thus far we've had a lot of successes. We're seeing a lot of different people come into the range, and it's really proven our initial assumptions about the need for this type of business in the marketplace are coming true.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes down that barrier. So the barrier that we identified on that double date was that our wives, we didn't want to force them into shooting if they didn't want to shoot, but wanted to give them the opportunity to understand, a little bit of gun safety, a little bit of familiarization with the guns, with shooting, and thought it was something that we could share, something that we both enjoyed that we could share with our wives. And it failed for the reasons Chad told you. The barrier is the intimidation, the noise, the fear of getting shot, the fear of the brass flying around, not being able to see, where they hit the target, and have that feedback so they knew that they were doing things right. You've got ear protection on, you've got glasses on, you've got something in your hand as a new shooter that you think is going to explode as soon as you pull the trigger. So all those barriers we were able to remove here in the virtual range, and that's kind of how it got its start. As Chad said, there's more doors opening than we had imagined from that very basic premise. It's not just bringing in novice shooters or people that are not familiar. The military grade technology that's out there is just that. It is the tech is to advance to a point where it can challenge professional shooters. It can challenge professional marksmen. The law enforcement community has identified this and is using the technology and using our facility as part of their training. So the technology is at that level, and it can bridge that whole gap. And so that's kind of the basics of what has gotten us up to this point today, is that start, through all the business pieces, through the build out, and then hardware and software, and trying to come up with a solution for a need in the community and in the shooting sport community as well. So far what we found have been our tenets or basic pillars for success in this business are the consistent training, the professional instructors, and the robust technology that we put behind this process. First off, the consistency and the quality of the training that we are able to provide, the realistic nature of the shooting. The sim guns, we've put time and money and effort into bringing the sim gun technology as close to real as possible so that the fundamentals that you learn here translate to live fire. The fundamentals of any shooting are all the same, whether it's in a sim range or live fire. The safety, we follow the safety through here. Up into the time where you take that shot, even pulling the trigger, the same thing happens here as it does at a live fire range. And so that consistency, that realistic nature is what we've really worked hard to provide here in our virtual range. The virtual range, you're not wearing headgear, you're not imagining that you're shooting, you're picking up a sim gun that feels like a real gun, the trigger feels like a real gun, and you're shooting at a screen or a wall and then getting feedback from that. The next thing that sets us apart, people ask, am I coming in and shooting a video game? Yeah, it seems like that you're at a screen, but what we've invested in at Engage Virtual Range is finding our instructors. Every time you come into Engage Virtual Range, you're in a room, a bay, a booth. It's yours and your party's alone, and you're in there with one of our professional instructors. We don't hire somebody that has no background in firearms or firearms training. We have retired law enforcement. We have firearms instructors. We have active and retired military that perform as our professional instructors. So these people have a significant background in the firearms industry, in not just knowing about guns, but the instruction of firearms safety and firearms training, bringing that knowledge and that into our virtual range. And then on the technology, we've taken what is military grade technology and enhanced that here at Engage Virtual Range with the software. The realistic nature, the ability to get the feedback, the leaderboards, the environment. You can't see as I'm looking around, but we're in a room that's painted black, that the lights are adjustable, surround sound speakers, the curtains get pulled, you're in a room, you're immersed in the environment that we've created so that you feel like you're part of the scenario, the training session, whatever you're doing. We've built that technology, physical technology, and then also software, so that you're getting the most out of every minute that you're spending here to do that. The technology is also in the shooting. The guns, we've worked hard to make sure that you have a sim gun that feels, looks, and reacts as much like a realistic as it can be. So again, what makes our success? Honestly, it's all three of these things have what we've kind of brought to the market. I always brag first and foremost about our employees. The fact that when somebody comes in and enjoys their time here and learns something but doesn't feel like they were being taught a lesson, that's the best. We've had students in the police academies come through. We've had 12-year-old people come through that are learning about firearms. We've had 88-year-old retired military that have come through and have picked something up. There's something that you can always learn, and our instructors are so valuable. We get feedback all the time. I had a great time, and they mention our instructors by name, and so by far that's the one thing you can't replicate. You can't change out as a human factor, and we relied heavily on that, and we make that a priority so that you have a good time here and that you learn something and you're safe. So that's first and foremost, and honestly, that's been a big part of why we've been successful.
Absolutely.
And it's what we offer, more than just come in and shoot a screen. You're getting a training. We're a training center first and foremost. You can have fun, of course, entertainment, shoot targets, do different fun stuff. It's not all, training, but there's always that element there, and it just adds the value. And then the consistency, you come in, every time you come in, you're going to get the same environment. You're going to get the same, whether it's a different instructor, whether it's a different, hopefully a different location. This is our one location, but no matter when you come in, you're going to have a consistent experience all the time. It's not going to change based on who you are, who you're with, how, million shots you've taken or no shots that you've taken. You're going to get a consistent, friendly, encouraging experience when you come here. And then the technology. Always improving. We've had military members come through that went through 10 years ago and actually experience simulated training with their systems, and then come here and talk about how much better this is than what they trained on. Not that the technology is there, the guts are there, but the environment that we create here, the immersive environment, the consistent platform, the technology around there, we're getting the feedback from law enforcement as well, who have shot other simulated types of training, doing their judgmental training. Then they come here, and what we've created, hands down, the feedback we're getting is that this is the environment they want to train in. They want this consistency, they want this platform, and so that's one more thing that is helping us grow and giving us that feedback, and eventually making us successful and able to offer this to more and more people.
You just heard from Cal what's made us successful so far, but we often get the question, are you guys a franchise? Did you come up with this? So the answer to that is no, we're not a franchise, not yet at least. If you've experienced what we do at our Medina location, you've been to our pilot facility. We have business aspirations to grow this to be something that's available on a much broader spectrum. We've got, as Cal mentioned, a lot of great feedback from customers. We've started to model what a regional and national rollout of an engaged virtual range in every major city across the U.S., and it's really an exciting model. But not there yet. Today we're still working very much on this facility and honing what it is we do and how we deliver it, and developing a number of new training courses that you'll learn about here in future videos. But we are very, very excited about the future. We've gotten, as Cal mentioned, a lot of awesome feedback from a more diverse audience than we expected. We've only begun. I think that's probably a good summary of our future. We think that there's a lot of room for us to bring this to additional markets. So that wraps up today, how we came to be, our history, and what's made us successful so far, and where we're looking to go in the future. So feel free, post questions in the comment section. We will absolutely get back to you on that. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram and Twitter as well. And as always, stay engaged, and these days, more importantly, stay safe. Thanks.